Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Gone are the days of wrestling with our favorite LJN wrestling figures, trying to convince them to stand up. What's a guy to do? I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get on Etsy and look up 4 Left 3D Creations and get yourself these amazing custom LJN figure stands. There is a custom stand available for every single one of your LJN wrestling superstar figures. Make your display shine by grabbing these custom LJN stands from 4 Left 3D Creations today. Well, that's not good. My head is out of the shot. Just hang on. And I'll get unusually close to the camera for that. That's better. All right. Facing up New Age Revolution Cave for, a video. These dailies are happening, and I like them. I like the dailies. I like them a lot. And I'm going to keep doing them. Yeah, we're just going to run. We're just going to do it dailies. Just a dailies run. As long as the content is interesting and you people continue to watch, then we'll continue to do the dailies. Back to normal programming. Yesterday's eosinophilic esophagitis show was fine, but I don't like talking about it. So I'm not going to do that anymore. We're just going to move forward. What's happening this weekend? So this could be big, and I guess this will be up to you guys. Sunday, I'm home alone. Sunday, I've got the house to myself for a while. So I was either going to do a vlog, a Sunday in the life, or a live show. Haven't done a live show in forever. Really, forever. And that we could do. So it would be Sunday afternoon, a live show. Or a day in the life vlog. You call it. Your call. Today, right now, we're going to talk about my 6th most memorable television moment, or memorable television moment number 6. I can't call it my 6th most because these are not ranked. They're not ranked. As we continue to eulogize television, the death of television as we knew it, we say goodbye to the format that raised us in a way. Number 6. Well, you remember number 3 or number 4 was watching my mom's TV shows or watching television with my mom. Well, you can't do one and not the other, so my memorable television moment number 6 is TV with Dad. That's right, TV with Dad. And oftentimes these videos are therapeutic for everybody involved. They're therapeutic for you, as you have told me, and they're therapeutic for me, as I have told you. This will probably be one of those videos that's therapeutic for me. TV with Mom didn't have much significance emotionally at the time, but TV with Dad did. Because TV with Dad only happened after my parents got divorced. So my dad had shows that he would watch when he could. I don't remember my dad being the come home, sit on the couch, the Barca lounger or whatever, and kick his feet up and watch TV. I don't remember him caring that much about television. But he would watch the dad shows that we've talked about, MASH and Hogan's Heroes and Benny Hill. I remember my dad watching Benny Hill and laughing hysterically at Benny Hill, and laughing hysterically at the Three Stooges. And I'm like, this isn't that funny, Dad. But I remember my dad also being a very minor boxing fan. He would watch like the Sugar Ray Leonard fights that back then were just broadcast on national television like 4 p.m. on a Saturday. You know, Wide World of Sports and things like that. But post-divorce, when we would hang out at my dad's house, which back in those times, divorce resulted in fathers getting their children on weekends, sometimes every other weekend. Well, I can assure you that is no more the case, folks. But back then, that was the deal, and which had to have been awful for fathers, you know, to be a full-time dad and then go to a weekend or every other weekend deal because of, you know, divorce. Well, we would hang out on weekends, and he'd pick us up, I think, Fridays, and we'd stay till Sunday. Usually Sunday late. I remember coming home 6, 7 o'clock on a Sunday. So he had us, you know, really kind of 3 days. I don't know, whatever. But my dad didn't have a lot of ways to entertain us. He would take us to a park. We had a dog at my dad's, my Doberman, and we would run the dog at a park, and we would climb this big hill, and he'd take us there. Or he would take us visiting, as he called it. We would go visiting, and that's where we would. My dad has a huge family, so we would go see aunts and uncles. We would go see his mother, you know, my grandmother, on his side. But it was, you know, it was visiting, and visiting consisted of sitting around, you know, the kids playing, I guess, trying to figure out something to do while the adults sat at the kitchen table and drank coffee. That was visiting. But then at nighttime, it was TV. And I have a couple of very specific memories. One was the video store experience with my dad. I can say that out of if we saw him 4 weekends a month, let's just say for mathematics' sake, if we saw him for 4 weekends a month, I would say it was 3 trips to Blockbuster. At least 3 out of 4 weeks, we were going to Blockbuster. And that allowed me to pull a random horror movie off the shelf, certainly pull a WWF Coliseum home video off the shelf. And then my dad would pick out movies. And he wouldn't watch the wrestling with me, and he wouldn't watch the horror with me. But we would sit down together at, you know, 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and he'd have 3 movies, you know, 3 beautiful blockbuster movies just sitting there. And there was a pretty good chance we were going to watch all 3. And my sisters would fall asleep on the couch or whatever, and my dad and I would just sit there. And I was 9, 10 years old. And I would just sit there with him, and we would watch movies. And they were always movies that he wanted to see. Like, he didn't care about, like, silly, you know, comedy stuff. Like, he wouldn't rent, like, Ace Ventura or something like that. He wouldn't rent, you know, Happy Gilmore. He liked Eddie Murphy. So I could see him renting, you know, Beverly Hills Cop or something like that. But it was always a Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme style of movie. So it was, you know, it was Hard to Kill. It was, I don't know, whatever, Bloodsport. You know, it was those. So he was a big Steven Seagal fan, and so we would watch Steven Seagal movies. Under Siege, I remember watching with my dad, was really good. The Seagal movie, all the Van Dammes we'd watch, and movies of the sort. You know, The Last Boy Scout we saw. You know, the Die Hards he would rent. And he never wanted an older movie. He always wanted a movie that was like, why would I go back and watch a movie that I've already seen? Let's get this one. Okay. And it was just him and I. And you know, whether there was graphic violence or language or even nudity, we just watched it together. When I was a little younger, he would do the dad thing where he covered my eyes. You know, if there was nudity, I would sit there and he'd cover my eyes. But then, honestly, at about 10 or 11, he just didn't care. And, you know, I'm horribly uncomfortable sitting there on the couch with my dad, and there's, things flopping around and being exposed, and I didn't care. And I'm like looking at him, and he's just like, he's just enjoying the movie. Couldn't care less that his prepubescent child is sitting there. There was always a snack involved with my dad and television. There was always a snack, and my dad's world famous snack of choice was cheese and crackers. My dad would he would eat cheese and crackers every movie, all day. And I could have a few, but I couldn't eat my dad's cheese and crackers. That was for him. And so I'd have chips or something like that, and he might give me one or two cheese and crackers. And they were on like the Ritz crackers, the Toll House or whatever crackers, and it was always yellow or orange cheddar cheese or Munster cheese. I remember my dad was a big Munster cheese fan. So that was the snack, and those were the movies. And he drank back then. He drank a bit. He drank more after the divorce. And I just remember the sound. My dad would make a giant rum and Coke, or multiple rum and Cokes, and they were not in a glass. They were in a glass. They were in a Captain Morgan's mug. And I just remember, sitting there and hearing the ice, click and fall down and click. I would hear the ice make noise, and that's, that takes me back to good times. My dad sipping a rum and Coke or four, and hoarding his cheese and crackers, not allowing his child to have any, and watching fairly inappropriate movies for my age, but the best television memories. The next dad TV memory was not movie related. We were there on Saturday nights, and in the late 80s and early 90s, it was a particular lineup that we would watch, and it was Cops, and then America's Most Wanted. And so Cops was on for an hour from 8 to 9, and then America's Most Wanted was 9 to 10. And then he also got into the Friday the 13th, the series show. So it was Cops, America's Most Wanted, and then Friday the 13th, the series. Freddy's Nightmares came on afterwards. He didn't want anything to do with that. Because Friday the 13th, the series, had nothing to do with the movie at all. So it was Cops. And we would laugh hysterically at Cops. Because, there was so many, you could count on some kind of stereotypical situation happening on Cops every weekend. Everybody was always being arrested without shoes on, and everybody was always being arrested without shirts on, and it was always just hilarious to see these people just carted off to the car. Can I get my shoes? And they're like, no, and they're pushing your head in the car. And we loved Cops because Cops always won in that show. You never saw the bad guys win in Cops, and we would just laugh hysterically. And then America's Most Wanted was kind of a downer, and then I would sit through Friday the 13th series with him, and it was good. It was good, and a very, very early television dad memory is when my parents were still married, and my dad would. Let's say he'd watch a show. He'd watch MASH. Well, me and my sisters wanted to play, and we wanted to wrestle our dad. And you couldn't during MASH. But when the commercials happened, my dad had a line that he would use. As the commercial started, he would look at us and say, "The beatings will now begin." And that was our cue to jump on him, and we'd roll on the floor, and I remember we'd come up from behind him. I used to do this with Liam when we'd wrestle. We'd come up from behind him, and he'd grab us and just flip us over his shoulder, and then tickle us, and that was just the best. And I do that with my kids. I don't do that anymore. I don't know. Liam retired from wrestling. He wouldn't stop wrestling me, and it would kill me, and I was exhausted. He just had unlimited energy. And now if we wrestle, he's like, "I'm done," after 5 minutes. And my other son, Finley, is too heavy. for me to wrestle. He's a beast, and he hurts me, so I don't wrestle him. Liam has always weighed about 17 pounds, so I could throw him around. But Finley is quite a man, and I can't wrestle him. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's dad TV memories. More emotional memories this time around. More heartfelt than just your standard television experience. So that is memory number 6. Television, most memorable moment number 6. Television with Dad. I don't know if we're going to do television with Grandma and Grandpa. We might. I can't really. Maybe I'll do everybody. Because I think my grandpa was football and the Yankees. And then my grandma was just like, I don't know. My grandma and I used to watch Martin together, believe it or not. I would come down from my room on a Sunday night and we'd watch the Martin Lawrence show, and just laugh hysterically. I don't know. We'll see if I include it in my most memorables. All right, that's it. That's the show. We'll do number 7. We'll do looking at the LJN. We're going to do the Iron Sheik or Jimmy Snuka, either one. I want to watch Risky Business down here with you. The lamps do work, so it is a very, very really good feeling down here with the lamps on and nothing else. It really just sets the tone, gives the feeling. So we'll watch a show and then decide on Sunday if you want to do a live show, a live Q&A deal, or if you want me to do a Sunday in the Life vlog. Let me know, and that's it. So, good night now.